This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
As you've been hearing, our healthcare system is back in the news again this week with the start of that court case that challenges the ban on private health insurance and extra fees from procedures already covered by Medicare, Linda.
But as Michael Campbell, the host of Canada's top-rated financial show Money Talk, says, it all comes down to money, doesn't it always? Let's bring in Mike to elaborate. And Mike, this sort of comes down to your right to access medical care privately with your own money or with private insurance if the waiting times are really excessive.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind that waiting for treatment is a policy followed by all governments, and I mean it's a design policy. It's in order to keep budgets under control. So yeah, it is all about money and the economy and that kind of stuff. It's just the practical reality. And you look at the waiting list, and I mean this is going to be a featured part of it, is how long they are. I was looking at a report from the Fraser Institute this morning. 2014 is the latest numbers. Well, specialist physicians reported a median waiting time of 18.3 weeks between a referral from a general practitioner and then you get your treatment. That's actually grown a little bit despite all the extra money, but it's really grown since, say, 1993. It was about 9.3 weeks. So you're looking at a big growth here. But here's the other side, though. As it stands, healthcare continues to eat up all the money, the new tax revenue. And I mean, it's the biggest one. And you've got some new technology, you've got inflation, you've got other cost pressures, you've got an aging population. You know, clearly those numbers are going to continue to grow. And let me just throw one more quickly at you here. Looking at some numbers out of the C.D. Howe Institute, a UBC professor, Kevin Milligan, who I like, they're looking at over the next 14 years, healthcare spending is going to go from like 7% of the gross domestic product to 10% in British Columbia. So, I mean, this is a major problem. It is about the economic and financial constraints.
Now, how does that increase in spending translate to the specific amount of tax dollars needed to make this happen?
Well, we're certainly talking billions here. I mean, every single percentage point, that you grow in spending compared to GDP is about $2.5 billion in BC. So they're looking at, in other words, about $7.5 billion new dollars are going to have to be found in the next 14 years. Now, keep in mind, that's about a 15% boost in provincial government revenues.
Wow.
And now compare that. I mean, the numbers are big and they come quick, but right now our total sales tax revenue is $6 billion. We're talking about something at $7.5 billion. Total provincial income tax in BC is about $8.4 billion. Again, you're talking about $7.5 billion over just 14 years. So obviously, I mean, we're talking about a heck of a lot of money.
Absolutely, and you're a smart guy, so what's the answer?
Well, let me just put it this way. The governments are also under real pressure here because you guys are doing it every day, reporting on current affairs. Obviously, healthcare isn't the only group looking for money. I mean, we can talk about infrastructure, or pensions are going to be big, especially old age pensions going to take billions more. You always got demands for higher wages. The benefit costs go up. So it is tough. And that brings me to just to remind people that we have had numerous studies, Drex and Linda, about it's not sustainable in its current form. And so one of the things we have to look at is how to become more cost effective. And Canada does not compare well internationally, by the way. Looking at another study recently from the Commonwealth, they're talking about we rank about 10th out of 11 countries, but it's very consistent with other things we do, and we're going to have to find a way of doing it differently. And then the other side of that, we definitely need economic growth, not just for healthcare, but those other programs were alluded to. It's the reality, and that's what kills me. We seem to avoid that reality all the time.
Something that we need to take care of is our individual finances when it comes to this sort of stuff. How's that going to affect us?
Absolutely right, Drex. I mean, this has got to be part of retirement planning. I mean, I was looking at a BMO Wealth Institute survey that found Canadians expected to spend about $5,400 out-of-pocket medical expenses every year after the age of 65. But, I mean, this is what a bit of the farce is about the current debate and the current court case. I mean, we pretend there isn't private care. Well, of course there is. I mean, I use a chiropractor in the past. I go to the dentist. I'm not covered by any extended care, so if I get a massage therapist or a physiotherapist, I'm seeing one right now, I pay that out of my pocket. And then the other trend is how much stuff is done through new drug therapies, and that comes, again, out-of-pocket expenses. So we're already doing it, and that's what's always burned me about this debate. We act as if it's not happening, and of course it's happening right now, but as you're alluding to, Drex, this is a big deal for individuals. We have to include this as a part of our retirement planning, because you can bet you're going to incur some expenses as you get older.
Sure.
Mike, I got a question here. We see a lot, especially yesterday when we saw the press conference out the front of this court case. We see a lot of what I call fear mongering. Is those that are already working within the health system are saying, "Oh, they're going to bring in the American system. You're going to have to choose between groceries and healthcare." But that's not what this argument is about. The argument is about looking at the European system and bringing that into our country. Why are people so scared to even look at it?
You know what? You're right. You're talking about vested interests, and there's, a quick fact is there's only two countries in the world who outlaw private care: us and North Korea. That's great company to be keeping, for God's sakes. But, you look at the French system, you look at the German system, you look at the Swedish system. The list just keeps going on. You're quite right. You can look in and learn a lot from those European models, but all of them have a private component to their entire healthcare system. The thing I did a comment this morning that I alluded to a Supreme Court case called the Chouili case out of Quebec. I think it's 2005, 2006, where they looked at evidence for a year, and the three justices concluded that there is absolutely no merit to the argument that having a parallel private system destroys the public system. These are three Supreme Court judges who spent a year doing it. And that's why, I just find that argument is without merit. As I just alluded to, I've used an eye doctor that I paid for. It didn't ruin the medical system. I just think it's from people who, I don't know why the fear-mongering, but I'll tell you this. If we don't make changes to the system, it is unsustainable, and I've got every major study to back that up in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front, and we're going to hear more and more and more about this in the months to come. So.
Well, the sad thing is this is such an old story that we're hearing about right now. It's been pushed through, but the bottom line, let's not forget, and again, a comment I make regularly is this shouldn't be about the system. It should be about patients. And patients are rating in an inordinate amount of time. Governments are already stretched financially. Ask any one of them, doesn't matter if it's NDP, Conservative, or Liberal government across the provincial governments in this country, they're going to tell you the same thing. We've got to have a realistic look at that. And, the court case is just a small area there.
Yeah.
The rest is all economics. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for that, Michael Campbell.
Thank you.
Vancouver's News, Vancouver's Talk. This is News Talk 980, CKNW.